So we'll move on to the Melbourne Football Club, who are the last team to have a top 10 pick as it is likely to play out, obviously, with bids. So they currently hold 7, 8 and 37. And they are likely to take 3 or 4 picks. It's interesting that the AFL website said 3 to 4 when they have 7, 8, 37 and not much else. So I don't know if there's potential for swaps or something there. We know that they're a team that does like to trade up as well. I suppose as a general snapshot, Melbourne were a big talking point. We've covered them a lot on this channel over the trade period. What do you make of their list position?
I think they've had an incredible window. Like the pivoting that they've done has been exceptional. They've sort of simultaneously got into the draft and improved the young part of their list. They've taken a slight hit in the mid-range of their list, which I think will affect performance. But then they've kind of propped up, I suppose you would say, their like older players and experienced players. They've kind of done that. Like Oliver, who's a little bit younger and in that sweet spot, traded him out for like a Jack Steele for more leadership. And that part of the team looks really strong. Like you look at Max Gawn, Jake Melksham, Tom McDonald, Stephen May, Jack Viney. May's maybe a little bit of a bad apple, but we'll kind of let that slide. They've still got Fritsch, Langdon and Lever, who are all 29. So sort of still in the prime of their career, but offer that leadership. The part that's kind of gutted is the 24 to 28-year-olds, which is what I was kind of saying. They're losing, players like Petrarca and I think Spargo kind of came out of that section of the list.
And Oliver.
And Oliver, of course. But what looks really, really good for the future with Melbourne is obviously like Trent Rivers, Cozzy Pickett, Turner. You've got Windsor, Lindsay, Langford, even Cully. Van Rooyen.
Yeah.
You've kind of got all these players in their early 20s who are just blossoming, and now they've got another 2 picks in the draft. So huge tick for Melbourne for me. I think they did incredibly well for the situation, and they're starting to make those changes to push again, I suppose.
Yeah, it's been a monumental trade period, or in terms of just the drama. Like it's just been, it's been very aggressive from Melbourne. They gave Petrarca the blessing to leave. It wasn't as though he kicked up a stink, which is probably different to 12 months previous. And Clayton Oliver, they pretty much walked to Sydney.
He's still kicking and screaming right now. It feels like, I don't know, every time I turn the TV on, Oliver's there like yelling at someone.
Yeah. They try to move on Stephen May as well. So there's obviously a pretty aggressive approach to this offseason for the Melbourne Footy Club. And it's also against the backdrop of a few years of attacking the draft and being really proactive in that space, which I think has held them in good stead. Now they enter this true rebuilding period and they're not starting from scratch because of their drafting in recent times. You go back to 2019, one of those picks was Jackson, but they've still got Pickett and Rivers, as you pointed out there. And then in terms of their first round picks, Jacob Van Rooyen, Jefferson is the only one we haven't seen a lot of, and I don't really know where he sits. He seems to be out of favour and perhaps more speculative at this point.
Yeah.
But Windsor, Langford and Lindsay in particular I like, and Tholstrup. I remember I haven't really seen too much from him since he ended up at Melbourne, to be honest with you, but I followed him in the waffle because he was like by far and away, I think as a bottom major, he was like by far and away like the leading goal kicker in the Waffle Colts. And I was like, this guy is going to be an unbelievable key forward. And then I think he maxed out at like 188 centimetres.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? So he's kind of that like in between size.
Sure.
Nonetheless, still a good talent. And
he's sort of more like a power forward, I feel.
Yeah. So anyway, my point being there that they have got a head start on this rebuild and there is some midfield pieces there.
They just keep drafting well.
Yeah.
It's really impressive what they've done over the last 2 to 3 years. Like they just don't seem to miss. They seem to go for really specific players. It's like they have this idea who they want, who they need, who's going to come in and hit the ground running, and they just do.
Absolutely. And you could see them. Well, there has been some suggestion that they want to get pick 2 as well, or one of those early picks.
Which we assume is for Roby.
Yeah, he just fits that Melbourne bill, I feel. And there will be a point where they stop drafting those types specifically. But
he's the Petrarca replacement.
Yeah, that's true.
And they don't necessarily, from the guys that they've drafted, Windsor, you could argue that Harvey Langford is sort of that type, but he is quite different. He's less explosive and fast than someone like a Roby, and he's more just sort of in a way, he's more Bontempelli.
Or Jordan Lewis.
Nice. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bontempelli is like a very flattering comparison.
Extremely.
Because it probably isn't the same athlete. Bont, I don't know what he tests at, but like he
Bont's a
lopes
better
across the
athlete.
field. I know you weren't like making a genuine comparison there,
No.
but I know what you're saying. So yeah, they've got a good nucleus of young talent there. McVee leaving was a bit of a blow naturally, but you know they've still got Rivers and Pickett amongst others at Jake Bowie. So we need to consider what they need at this year's draft, and I still think while they've laid a bit of a foundation, it's still somewhat of a blank canvas in that there are enough needs there where they can sort of just go best available to some extent. But dynamic forward mid, we know that they tried really hard to get Bailey Humphrey, got somewhat close to getting that over the line. A ruck is probably still a need generally, in the sense that they just don't have enough on their list.
They just picked up Max Heath, didn't they?
But
he's largely a stopgap. I don't reckon they see him as like an integral part of the team.
Yeah, no, agreed. They've been light. Is Tom Campbell still on their list?
Yeah, I think he is. No, hang on. I might be wrong there.
I can't remember. It's not super pertinent. I suppose the reason I mentioned that is for the context of this video. Are they yes or no to CDT if he's available?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Absolutely.
There's enough need there.
Yeah.
Again, the position doesn't matter because they also probably need another forward and certainly a ruck forward.
And I think you could argue that Melbourne are the best placed team to pick. They did it with Jackson, and it's the blueprint because you put a player like that who needs a lot of nurturing and development, and you put him with Max Gawn.
Yeah.
The best ruck probably for the last 20 years.
That's true.
Arguably.
Yeah.
So that's another reason when you look at all those other clubs that could be picking CDT ahead of them, like you don't have that Luke Jackson environment. He's a success story, right?
Yes.
But those other clubs don't have that to offer like Melbourne do. So if he's there, that's a slam dunk. He's probably not though.
It seems unlikely he would get past Essendon. Like I could see him getting to Essendon, but past Essendon does seem doubtful.
That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, absolutely.
I sort of have the same theory on CDT and on Sharp, with Essendon being the point at which it can't really get any further. But
sure.
And that would be I suppose for Melbourne just kind of picking up the scraps, wouldn't it? Like whatever's fallen through that's really highly talented. But they have gone to these recent drafts and looked for players that they specifically want. So I don't know if he's one that they would specifically want. But the one that I had that they would specifically want would be Aiden Schubert. And you could argue that he's a similar type to Cooper Duff-Tyler.
Yeah, okay. Does he ruck much, Aiden Schubert?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right.
He was so South Australia had Ainsworth in the ruck, Ainsworth, and Schubert went in.
Gotcha.
And did the forward stoppages and stuff like that.
So TL73 says Melbourne need to look at best available. I think they're actually a better fit for CDT. Yeah, I think that echoes what we just said. I agree.
Yep.
If he's gone, they should look at Schubert. There you go. Mind reader. I've long thought that Schubert makes sense for them. Could you read out that Drizzy comment, please? Out loud, please, Dylan.
I wanted to read it first.
Yeah, good call.
Drizzy, what do you think about the youngster Laquarius Howard from Penn State as a rookie selection for Melbourne's ruck stocks?
He's being an idiot.
Jesse, what's going on?
I know Drizzy just wanted to have his moment, have his comment read out.
Is that a real...
No.
So that's actually not real.
No, we were playing a bit of 2K earlier and we started making up players.
I love that. Okay, so Melbourne.
Yeah.
The Demons. I think, let's say Cooper Duff-Tyler's not on the board. Let's assume that.
Yeah.
It's probably less likely than likely. They get Aiden Schubert with their first pick. Would you want to pair him with another South Australian?
Blake Threadgold.
Not who I was thinking. I was going to say Sam Cumming.
I think it's a great shout. I'm trying to think. I also think they're one of those teams that will be keen on Lockie Doverston.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have Cosy Pickett, but I think you can have multiple types of these players and make your forward line particularly damaging. But staying with that point, Sam Cumming, yes, I think that he probably offsets what they have quite well. I mean, he's different to Langford, Lindsay, and Windsor. They're all distinctly different types of midfielders.
Looks like a player they would love to me too.
Yeah, and a bit of positional versatility.
Yeah,
relatively ready-made. I mean, like we saw him play in the Sandful and play some of his best footy at the Sandful level.
He's ready to go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What are some other players though? We know. I think they'd show some interest in Dersma. I don't know if they wouldn't trade up for him, but we talk about Roby, CDT, Sam Cumming.
He played in their reserves actually in the VFL. Dersma played for Casey.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Not that that's particularly relevant.
Somewhat. Who else in terms of those options? What about Jevon Philippou?
Yeah. But I think, again, they're particularly like these Melbourne clubs. If you went after one South Australian and there's a couple of guys, like there's a Cumming sitting there and there's a Philippou.
Gotcha.
I think there would be a want there to kind of package them up together to stop from the go home factor. Like we've seen Cozzy Pickett potentially trying to get out of there. So
yeah, that's true.
I think maybe you'd want to do that. And like clubs have done that in the past. Like I mentioned Rowell and Anderson before. Like you package up two guys that have got to travel somewhere and it's just a little bit easier for them and they're friends and stuff like that. So Philippou would definitely be that kind of forward mid, and he's definitely like a modern day player with his athleticism. I think you'd take Cumming though if he was there.
I would agree with that.
I think most likely is Schubert and Cumming with Doveston as a kicker.
Yeah, I like that. The kicker, nice. You over Schubert?
No, sorry. Doveston would be the next.
Sorry, yeah, no.
If one of the, because there's a chance, say Sam Cumming's already gone.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, no, my brain just failed there. Luke Cashmore says no chance Doveston goes that early. Bearing in mind this will be picks 11 and 12 on the night. I don't agree. I think he could easily go that early.
Yeah, I think Doveston will be that player that is. I think someone will just like him.
Yeah,
and he sort of could.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, he could slide a little bit as well. Like we said, this part of the draft is pretty even. If you need a small forward or you really like Doveston particularly, I think you'll go for him. We saw that Hawthorn took Nick Watson with pick 5?
Yeah.
In his draft year, and they've got pretty similar goal output.
Yeah.
In fact, Doveston has a better goal output for Talent League.
Pickett was pick 12 in Melbourne's year, 2019 rather, and Melbourne reached for that. Turned out to be one of the better picks of modern times. Like when you consider the ranking versus reach versus output.
Far out.
So again, that sort of ties into Melbourne's quality drafting. It stretches back to 2019 as well.
Yeah, I think the two positional types that have increased in their value to clubs in drafts over recent years are intercept defenders and small forwards.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's a great call. Jacob Farrow, any suitability, or Josh Lindsay?
Jacob Farrow seems way too similar to Harvey Langford for me.
What about as a defender?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, again, you also consider who's there. Like you would take Sam Cumming earlier, but
yeah, of course. Like there's a point where just the talent, and I don't think Melbourne are a team that particularly has to go for needs.
Yeah,
they can just draft a little bit on talent, because we mentioned of all of these clubs that we're discussing, you would have to say their list is probably the best placed overall
at the moment. Perhaps. You could say it's hard to compare them to Richmond, though.
Who's got better young talent, Richmond or Melbourne? I think there's an argument that Richmond's is younger.
Yeah, Richmond's is younger, so they simultaneously could be better, or we haven't seen enough, and they could be busts, some of them.
Melbourne feel closer to the whole for me. I meant that in a golf perspective.
Yeah, sure it sounded negative, and then it also sounded a little
closer
sexual.
To the pin is the one that
yeah, right. That's awkward.
Why do I say these things?
What were we saying?
We're talking about Melbourne.
Oh yeah, you think Melbourne are a little bit closer to?
I just think their young talent's not necessarily better than Richmond's, but it's closer to development.
Yeah, I mean, if you do factor in Rivers and Bowie and Pickett in particular, like the Richmond don't have the equivalent of a Cozzy Pickett, who's at the peak of his powers already and still has a lot of footy ahead of him.
And I think partly Melbourne's drafting the last couple of years has been probably those midfielder types that hit the ground running quicker, where Richmond went, like we said, they went largely tolls with a couple of
that's true,
like more bigger bodied mids and stuff. Like Melbourne's mids have all sort of hit the ground running.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Potential pick swaps.
You talked about 2.
Yeah, no, I think we already kind of covered this. It was really, you'd think it would just be for Roby. I don't know if they need to aggressively move up for CDT, but
were they the one involved in the one that we did for Richmond, where they'd come up for 3?
Oh yes, let's talk about the other end of that. Yeah. So I suggested earlier Melbourne's pick 7 to Richmond, along with Gold Coast future first, which is tied to or given to Melbourne. So 7 and approximately 16 for pick 3. Provided that Sullivan Roby is available. Do you think Melbourne should do that?
Yeah, okay. So that would be on draft night, and they would say like West Coast have gone Dersma CDT or Dersma Sharp.
Yeah.
And then Melbourne
and
go.
Roby's there, yeah.
That sound that comes on, it's like.
Do-do-do-do-do.
No, that's the.
Oh, yeah, no, that was McDonald's.
Like, what's the.
Pickers in.
Yeah. I'm not doing that right.
No, let's really double down on this. Let's keep going.
Let's keep going. So, what was the deal again? Explain the deal.
7 and Gold Coast future first, which we can assume is like mid to late teens pick. Pick 16, let's go with 7 and 16 in the future for 3.
7 and 6. And we are factoring into that Richmond, with their picks for next year, would want to get into that draft.
Yeah. So we're assuming Richmond's keen in this scenario. We're doing it from the Melbourne side. Do you think Melbourne should do it for Sullivan Roby? Hypothetically. I've made this up, by the way. This is a hypothetical.
I think, yes, they should. For some reason, because it's Melbourne and how well they've picked in recent years, I'm like, you guys have just done this really, like, for
There's
3,
some
4,
trust.
there's some trust there that I'm like, just get it done with 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Don't go chasing
Waterfalls.
Yeah. But also, I also said off the top, Melbourne seem to have a player that they are interested in and they really like, and they just go after that guy.
Yeah.
They kind of did it with Windsor, didn't they? So maybe they just maybe we should back in the fact that they want Roby.
Yeah, no, I think you summarised my viewpoint, which is like, I think 7 and 8 is a great position to hold, but if Melbourne really think Roby's that guy, who am I to tell them that he's not? Because we do trust them to some extent. So,
do you remember I always managed to squeeze a bit of soccer into this, but when Liverpool wanted Virgil van Dijk, and they got to the trade period or whatever it's called, the transfer window, as they would call it over there, and they couldn't get him, and there was like that tapping up rumours and stuff like that, and it got pushed back, but they didn't get anybody else. They just waited because they really wanted him, and it paid off so much when they actually did get him in. I think they got him the following January. So they had to wait 6 months, but they waited and got the guy they wanted instead of just taking, I guess, like best available, the next target.
Yeah, true.
Sometimes that works really well.
That's right.
They then won the Premier League and the Champions League.
Yeah, and boy, did we. Going pretty rough at the moment, Liverpool. Pletzer says, if Roby is that guy, why would Richmond trade down? Yeah, we're not seriously suggesting they should, but they do have some motivation to bolster next year's first round because they have multiple father sons.
And in that particular thing that we were talking about, we were only talking about it from the point that Melbourne thought Roby was their guy.
Yeah.
Richmond may not necessarily hold that view.
Yeah, we really
I
don't
like
know.
him. I've got him at 2. So
Yeah. I think it'd be very interesting to see if and how that plays out.